The story you're about to hear will make your heart race and your eyes fill with tears. A true story that happened in Baltimore, Maryland, in the historic neighborhood of Sandtown, Winchester, where an adopted son dared to do the unthinkable to the woman who saved him from the streets. And what happened next wasn't just a consequence, it was a direct intervention from the Virgin Mary that changed forever the lives of everyone involved. If real stories of faith and miracles speak to you, subscribe to this channel now and come with me until the end, because what you're about to witness will give you chills. It was a sweltering afternoon in July 2022. The humid heat of Baltimore weighed heavily on the modest homes of Sandtown, Winchester, where narrow streets held stories of entire generations. On North Stricker Street, number 1247, stood a narrow three-story red brick house with impeccably clean white marble steps and a front porch where pots of red geraniums grew. There, for more than 35 years, lived Miss Dorothy Mae Johnson, a 68-year-old black woman with gray hair always tied in an elegant bun, calloused hands from a lifetime working as a seamstress in factories and later for herself, and a sweet gaze that had never lost the ability to see good in people. Miss Dorothy had raised Marcus practically alone. She found him at age 8, in 1995, abandoned at a bus stop on West North Avenue, with only a dirty backpack and frightened eyes. The social worker said he had been through 4 foster homes, all returned him. But Miss Dorothy, who could never have biological children, saw in that scared boy a divine purpose. She officially adopted him 6 months later. For 27 years, Dorothy sewed until dawn, accepting all kinds of work, from simple alterations to elaborate prom dresses, all to ensure Marcus had education, food on the table, and a dignified future. The house constantly smelled of new fabric and the soft scent of candles she lit every night before an image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, which sat on a small oak table in the living room. That image had a story. It was a gift from her own mother, Miss Evelyn, on the day Dorothy moved to Baltimore from North Carolina in 1982. The Virgin was dressed in her traditional turquoise green mantle, stood about 12 inches tall, and rested on a base engraved with the words, "Our Lady of Guadalupe, pray for us." For decades, that image witnessed Dorothy's prayers, her pleas during Marcus's feverish nights as a child, her tears when there wasn't enough money to pay bills, her joys when the boy passed the entrance exam for civil engineering at Morgan State University. Marcus grew up, graduated, got an excellent job at a major construction company. At 35, he was a successful man, wore expensive suits, drove a black BMW, and constantly traveled along the East Coast supervising construction sites. But something had changed in him. The boy who used to accompany his mother to Sunday Masses at St. Peter Claver Catholic Church, who kissed the image of Guadalupe before important exams, who prayed the rosary with her on difficult nights, now saw all of that as outdated superstition. Visits to his mother's house became increasingly sparse. When he showed up, Marcus barely stayed half an hour, always in a hurry, always with his phone ringing, always with excuses about important meetings. Miss Dorothy prepared the foods he loved most from childhood: fried chicken with collard greens, mac and cheese, cornbread, sweet potato pie, but he barely touched his plate, saying he was on a diet, that he needed to watch his physique, that the food was too heavy. The real problem started when Marcus met Ashley, a 32-year-old corporate lawyer, blonde, thin, from a wealthy family in Connecticut. Ashley was the complete opposite of everything Marcus knew. She didn't believe in anything related to religion. She called faith an emotional crutch for weak people and made clear her disdain for any manifestation of popular devotion. When Marcus brought her to meet Miss Dorothy, the tension was immediate. Ashley entered the house and her gaze swept the environment with a mixture of pity and disdain. The old furniture, the small television, the faded floral fabric sofa, the crocheted doilies on the armrests, and especially the small altar with the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe surrounded by candles and fresh flowers. "Marcus," she whispered loud enough for Miss Dorothy to hear from the kitchen, "you grew up in this environment? It's so antiquated." Miss Dorothy served coffee and pound cake. She tried to make conversation, asked about Ashley's life, about her family, about the couple's plans, but the young woman responded in monosyllables, looking at her phone, clearly bored. When Miss Dorothy mentioned she was praying for God to bless their relationship, Ashley let out a dry laugh. "Oh, Miss Dorothy, you still believe in those things? In the 21st century? Marcus told me you were very religious, but I thought he was exaggerating." The silence that followed was heavy. Marcus didn't defend his mother, just lowered his eyes and changed the subject. That was the beginning. In the following months, Ashley's influence over Marcus grew exponentially. She convinced him that he needed to break free from the past to embrace the future. Your mother is a weight, Marcus. She pulls you down with her superstitions. You're a modern, successful man. You need to free yourself from these chains. Marcus's visits stopped completely. Miss Dorothy called, but he didn't answer. She sent messages. He responded with monosyllables days later. She tried to arrange lunches. He always had commitments. The old woman's heart began to sicken, not from cardiac problems, but from a deep sadness that corroded her soul day by day. It was on a Friday, July 28, 2023, that the unthinkable happened. Marcus showed up at his mother's house without warning around 8 p.m. Miss Dorothy, who was praying the rosary before the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, stood up radiantly when she heard the key in the door. "My son, what a joy! Let me heat up dinner for you." But Marcus didn't enter smiling. His face was hard, jaw clenched. He carried an executive briefcase under his arm. "Mom, we need to talk. Sit down." The tone was cold, almost cruel. Miss Dorothy felt a chill run down her spine but obeyed, sitting in the chair facing her son. "I'm getting married to Ashley in September. She's pregnant." Miss Dorothy's eyes widened, and for a second her heart filled with joy. A grandchild. But before she could speak, Marcus continued. "And we've decided to live here, in this house. It's the best financial option right now." Miss Dorothy's heart raced. "But son, the house has 3 bedrooms. We can." "No, Mom, you didn't understand. We're going to live here and you're going to have to leave." The silence that followed was deafening. Miss Dorothy blinked several times, as if unable to process the words she had just heard. "What do you mean, Marcus? I'm going to have to leave my own home. The house has been in my name for 5 years. Since I renovated it and paid off that debt you had. Legally, it's mine, and I need it now. Ashley doesn't want to live with you. She thinks it'll be too much with your religious habits, these things with candles, saints, prayers. We want to raise our child in a more modern environment." Tears began to stream down Miss Dorothy's wrinkled face. She tried to hold her son's hand, but he pulled away. "Marcus, my son, I raised you in this house. I sewed until my fingers bled to give you everything. Where am I going to go? I found you a room in a boarding house on Pennsylvania Avenue. It's simple, but it'll do. I'll pay the rent for the first 6 months. After that, you manage with your Social Security, and I need you out by Monday. That's 3 days. Enough time to pack your things." Miss Dorothy couldn't stop crying. "And the image of Our Lady? And your father's things? And you can take your clothes, your personal things. The rest stays. Ashley already hired people to renovate everything. It's going to be unrecognizable." Marcus stood up, avoiding his mother's gaze. "I'll be back Monday morning with the van. Be ready." And he left, leaving Miss Dorothy collapsed in the chair, sobbing in a way she hadn't cried since the day she lost her own mother. She dragged herself to the small altar, knelt before the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and began to pray through tears. "My mother, what did I do wrong? What did I do to deserve this? Help my son, Our Lady. Help him see what he's doing." That was the longest night of Miss Dorothy's life. She couldn't sleep. She sat on the porch looking at the stars, remembering every moment she had lived in that house. Marcus's first words, his first steps, the simple but love-filled birthday parties, the nights she sewed until dawn while he slept in the next room. All of that was going to disappear. On Saturday morning, some neighbors came to help. Miss Loretta, Miss Gloria, Miss Teresa. They all cried along with Dorothy as they packed the few clothes, the few belongings of a lifetime. "This is an injustice," said Miss Loretta. "A son doing this to his own mother, this won't go unanswered." Miss Dorothy carefully picked up the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, as if holding a baby. "This one I'm taking, no matter what. This was from my mother. This has been with me my whole life." She wrapped it in a soft cloth and placed it inside a cardboard box along with her blue rosary, some old photos, and the worn Bible she had used for decades. On Sunday night, a small truck took Miss Dorothy's few boxes to the rented room on Pennsylvania Avenue. It was a tiny space in an old boarding house, with moldy walls, a narrow window facing an alley with no light, a shared bathroom in the hallway, and a strong smell of mildew mixed with cleaning products. There was no space for anything beyond a single bed, a small wardrobe, and a nightstand. But Miss Dorothy, even with her heart broken, arranged a corner on the nightstand to place the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. She lit a candle, knelt with difficulty on the cold cement floor, and prayed. "My dear little mother, I don't know what's going to become of me, but I trust in you. You who are a mother know what it is to feel your heart break when a child turns away. Bring my Marcus back, little mother. Bring him back to the right path." Meanwhile, that same Sunday night, Marcus and Ashley were at the Sandtown house supervising the renovation company that would start work early Monday morning. Ashley walked through the rooms with a clipboard, pointing out everything that should be demolished, painted, modernized. "Take down this wall here, open up the concept. This old floor has to go completely, and especially this ridiculous altar in the living room. Throw everything away." Marcus looked at the small altar where the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe used to be. His mother had taken the Virgin, but the candles, the wilted flowers, the embroidered cloth still remained. Something inside him contracted, a strange pang in his chest, but he ignored it. "Yeah, take it all out. We're putting an 80-inch TV on this wall." They slept in the house that night on air mattresses they had brought. The house was empty, echoing with every step, and it was around 3 a.m. that the first sign happened. Marcus woke up suddenly with a strange feeling that someone was watching him. The room was dark, but there was a soft glow coming from the hallway. He got up thinking Ashley had left some light on, but when he reached the living room, he saw something that made his blood run cold. On the empty altar, where nothing should be, there was a single lit candle. The flame burned steady, illuminating the space with a soft, golden light. But what scared him most was the scent. An intense smell of roses filled the entire environment, impossible to explain since there were no flowers in the house. "Ashley," he called, his voice trembling. "Ashley, come here." She appeared sleepy and irritated. "What is it, Marcus? What time is it? Did you light this candle?" Ashley looked at the altar, frowned. "What candle? There's nothing there." Marcus blinked. The candle was there, burning, unmistakable. "What do you mean there's nothing? You're not seeing this." Ashley approached, passed her hand through the space where Marcus was pointing. "Marcus, there's nothing here. Are you having hallucinations? Go back to bed." But Marcus saw it. He saw the flame, smelled the scent, felt a gentle warmth emanating from there. He stood there watching until the candle slowly extinguished by itself, as if someone had blown it out. And the scent of roses disappeared with it, leaving only the musty smell of the old house. He couldn't go back to sleep. He sat in the living room until dawn, staring at that empty altar, feeling an uneasiness grow inside him like a thorny plant. On Monday, the renovation began. Workers arrived early, started tearing down walls, ripping up floors, making deafening noise. Marcus went to work trying to forget the previous night's episode, but throughout the day at the office, he felt a strange weight in his chest, an anguish he couldn't explain. When he returned home in the late afternoon, he found the workers standing in the living room, all with confused expressions. "Mr. Marcus," said Darnell, the construction foreman, "something strange happened here." "What was it?" "We started to demolish that little table from the altar, right? But every time we swung the sledgehammer, the tool slipped from our hands. Happened with 3 different men." Darnell showed his own hands. They had red marks, as if they had been burned. "When I tried to grab the embroidered cloth to throw it away, it felt like there was fire there. Burned my hand. But there's nothing hot." Marcus felt a shiver. "Darnell, you're joking, right?" "I swear on my mother's life I'm not, Mr. Marcus. The guys are scared. Some said they're not coming back tomorrow." Marcus approached the table. It was intact, despite everything around it being destroyed. He extended his hand to touch it and felt exactly what Darnell had described. An intense heat, as if there were invisible flames protecting that space. He pulled his hand back quickly. That was the second sign. That night, Marcus and Ashley had dinner in silence at a nearby restaurant. He told her about the problem with the renovation. She rolled her eyes. "Marcus, for God's sake, they're superstitious workers. Tomorrow you go there, take down that table yourself, and show them there's nothing special about it." But Marcus knew there was something he couldn't explain, something that made every cell in his body scream a warning he refused to hear. The third sign came on Tuesday morning. Marcus arrived early at the house before the workers, determined to dismantle the altar himself. He brought a sledgehammer and a large trash bag, but when he entered the living room, he stopped immediately. Sitting in the chair, facing the altar, there was a woman with her back turned. She wore a light blue dress, had long dark hair, and was completely motionless. Marcus's heart raced. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" The woman didn't respond, didn't move. Marcus took 2 steps closer, and when he positioned himself to see her face, he nearly fainted. The woman's face was exactly like the face of the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. The same delicate features, the same compassionate eyes, the same turquoise mantle, but she was real, 3-dimensional, breathing. The woman looked him in the eyes, and her voice was soft but carried undeniable authority. "Marcus, my son, what have you done to your mother?" He tried to speak, but no sound came from his throat. His legs weakened. The woman continued. "You whom she raised with so much love, whom she fed with bread she sometimes had to beg for, whom she clothed with clothes she sewed at dawn after working all day. You expelled her from her own home." I. Marcus could only stammer. "You have 3 days, Marcus. 3 days to undo the evil you've done. Or you will carry a cross so heavy it will destroy you." The woman stood up, and a soft light began to emanate from her, filling the entire room. "Your mother is praying for you at this very moment, even after everything, because that's what a mother does. And I, as the mother of all, will not allow you to destroy your own soul." Marcus fell to his knees, crying, "Forgive me! Forgive me! Seek Father Michael at St. Peter Claver Church. He will guide you on the way back." The light became so intense that Marcus had to close his eyes. When he opened them again, seconds later, there was no one there, only the scent of roses filling the entire environment so strongly he could almost taste it. He stayed there kneeling on the floor, crying until the workers arrived half an hour later and found him in that state. Darnell approached, concerned. "Mr. Marcus, are you okay?" Marcus looked at him with red and swollen eyes. "Darnell, stop everything. Stop the renovation. Don't touch anything else here. I made a terrible mistake." Still trembling, Marcus went straight to St. Peter Claver Church, a historic church in the heart of the neighborhood, with its white walls and twin towers that rang every day at 6 p.m. He hadn't entered there in over 10 years. He pushed the heavy wooden door and entered a cool, silent environment. Some elderly ladies were praying the rosary in the front pews. Lit candles flickered before the image of the Sacred Heart of Jesus on the main altar. "Can I help you, my son?" A soft voice came from the left side. It was Father Michael, a man of about 60 years, gray hair, kind eyes behind thin-framed glasses. He wore the traditional black cassock and carried a breviary in his hands. "Father," Marcus said, his voice breaking, I need help. Our Lady. She appeared to me." Father Michael didn't seem surprised. He placed his hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Come with me, my son. Let's talk." They went to the sacristy, a small room smelling of incense, shelves full of religious books, and a simple table. Marcus told everything, the expulsion of his mother, the signs, the apparition. He cried so much that at times he couldn't speak, only sob. Father Michael listened in silence, without judgment, only with deep compassion. When Marcus finished, the priest remained silent for a few moments, as if praying internally. Then he spoke. "Marcus, you were visited by the Mother of God herself. This is not a small thing. She doesn't appear so clearly unless it's absolutely necessary to save a soul on the brink of the abyss." Father Michael picked up an old Bible from the shelf. "Let me show you something." He opened to Exodus, chapter 20, verse 12. "Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you." This is one of the 10 Commandments, Marcus. It's not a suggestion, it's a command from God. And you violated this commandment in the worst possible way. Marcus covered his face with his hands. "I know, Father. I know. What do I do now?" "First, you're going to get your mother today and bring her back to her home. Second, you're going to kneel before her and ask forgiveness. Third, you're going to make a complete confession here in the church. And fourth, you're going to spend the next months, maybe years, repairing the harm you caused, not only to her but to your own soul." And if my fiancée doesn't accept it? Father Michael looked him in the eyes with firmness. Marcus, you need to choose between pleasing a woman who encouraged you to expel your own mother or obeying God and Our Lady who just gave you a chance to save your soul. This choice will define the rest of your life. Marcus knew the priest was right. He thanked him, asked for his blessing, and left the church with a clear purpose for the first time in years. But before going to get his mother, Marcus needed to go to the Sandtown house one more time. When he arrived there, he found Ashley supervising the workers. She looked up and smiled. Marcus, the renovation is going well now. The guys said you told them to stop, but I told them to continue. After all, we're in a hurry, right? Ashley, stop everything now. I'm bringing my mother back. Her smile died. What? Have you lost your mind? I made a terrible mistake. I expelled my own mother, the woman who gave me life, who sacrificed everything for me. And why? Because you, who barely knows me for a year, said it was best. Ashley turned red with anger. Marcus, are you choosing that old-fashioned woman over me, over the mother of your child? I'm choosing to do what's right. And if you don't understand that, maybe you're not the right person to be the mother of my child. There was a heavy silence. Then Ashley slapped Marcus across the face with all her strength. You're a failure, a weak man. I'm leaving, and you'll never see your child again. She grabbed her purse and left, slamming the door. Marcus stood there, his face burning, but his heart curiously lighter. Darnell, Marcus said, stop everything. Clean up what you can, but leave the house as it was. I'm bringing its owner back. And he left straight for Pennsylvania Avenue. The room where Miss Dorothy was staying was so miserable that Marcus felt a stab in his chest when he entered. She was sitting on the narrow bed, praying the rosary with the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe on the nightstand beside her. When she saw her son at the door, her face lit up for a second, but soon disappointment returned. Marcus, what are you doing here? He entered, closed the door, and knelt on the cold cement floor before her. Tears flowed freely down his face. Mom, I came to ask your forgiveness. I committed the worst sin a son can commit. I expelled you from home. You who gave me everything. I was selfish, ungrateful, cruel, and I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for it anyway. Miss Dorothy dropped the rosary and placed her trembling hands on her son's face. Marcus, my son, what happened? Our Lady appeared to me, Mom. Our Lady of Guadalupe. She gave me 3 days to undo the evil I did. And I won't waste another hour. You're going back home, because that house is yours. It always was, it always will be. Miss Dorothy began to cry, but they were tears of relief, of joy, of maternal love that never ceased to exist, even when it was rejected. I had already forgiven you, my son. The moment I walked out that door, I had already forgiven you, because I'm your mother, and a mother never stops loving. They embraced there in that miserable room, and it was one of the deepest embraces Marcus had ever received in his life. He felt he was embracing not only his mother but their entire history, all the love he had tried to reject, all the faith he had tried to deny. That same afternoon, Marcus took Miss Dorothy back to the house on Sandtown. The neighbors who had followed everything with sadness and indignation came out to their windows and doors when they saw the car stop. And when they saw Marcus helping his mother out, carrying the boxes, they began to gather. Miss Dorothy, shouted Miss Loretta. You came back. Thank God, said Miss Gloria. It's a miracle, exclaimed Miss Teresa. And indeed it was. Marcus helped his mother enter, and when Miss Dorothy saw the house, she covered her mouth with her hands. Despite part of the renovation having already begun, the altar was intact, protected, waiting for the saint's return. She carefully placed the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe back in its place, lit a candle with trembling hands, and knelt right there. In silence, only with tears of gratitude streaming down her face. Marcus knelt beside her, and together for the first time in years, they prayed the rosary, word by word, Hail Mary after Hail Mary, Our Father after Our Father. And as they prayed, something extraordinary happened. A scent of roses began to spread through the house, so intense that the neighbors on the street also smelled it. The light from the candles on the altar began to shine brighter, with a golden and soft luminosity that didn't come from the fire but from something beyond. And the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, which had been dull after decades, began to glow. A barely perceptible shine, but undeniable to anyone observing carefully. The neighbors entered one by one, attracted by the scent and the light. They knelt alongside Miss Dorothy and Marcus. Soon the small living room was full of people praying, crying, witnessing what was clearly a miracle. Father Michael, whom Miss Loretta had called running, arrived minutes later with the holy oils and a purple stole. When he saw the scene, when he smelled the scent, when he saw the light, he also knelt. And there, in that simple living room of a humble house in the Sandtown neighborhood, an entire community witnessed that the Virgin Mary not only protects the faithful but intervenes directly and powerfully when one of her children is on the brink of perdition. After everyone left, it was almost midnight. Marcus and Miss Dorothy talked for hours. He told her everything, Ashley's influence, how he had lost his way, how pride had blinded him. She listened without judgment, only with love. And at the end, she said something he would never forget. Marcus, Our Lady didn't appear just to save you. She appeared to save your fiancé too. Because if she continues on this path, away from God, life is going to be very hard for her. You need to pray for her, even after everything. Marcus nodded, and that night before sleeping, he prayed for the first time for Ashley, asking that she find the path of faith. In the following days, news of the miracle spread throughout Baltimore. People began visiting Miss Dorothy's house to see the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe that had glowed. Many reported healings, conversions, signs. The house became a small improvised sanctuary. Marcus officially ended the relationship with Ashley, but continued praying for her. He discovered weeks later that she had lost the baby, and despite everything, he felt a deep sadness. He sent flowers and a letter apologizing for any hurt he might have caused. 6 months later, on a Saturday morning, Miss Dorothy was in the backyard tending to the geraniums when the doorbell rang. It was a young woman with short hair, wearing simple clothes, holding a rosary in her hands. It took a few seconds for Miss Dorothy to recognize her. Ashley. The young woman nodded, her eyes full of tears. Miss Dorothy, I came to ask forgiveness for everything. I lost the baby. And after that happened, my life fell apart. I lost my job, my apartment, my friends. I was about to do something very foolish when an old lady gave me this rosary on the street and told me I should look for Marcus's mother. She said you would understand me. Miss Dorothy opened her arms. Come in, my daughter. Come have some coffee. And there in that kitchen where so many prayers had been made, a new conversion began. Ashley spent months frequenting the house, learning to pray, listening to Miss Dorothy's faith stories, rediscovering a spirituality she didn't even know was lost. Marcus and Ashley never rekindled their relationship, but they became friends, united by a common story of transformation through Our Lady's intervention. Today, 5 years later, Marcus lives next door to his mother in a house he bought on the same street. He's married to Patricia, a catechism teacher he met at Mass. He has 2 children, Helena and Gabriel, who learn to pray the rosary with their grandmother every night. The Sandtown house was never renovated. It remained simple but welcoming, with the altar of Our Lady of Guadalupe always cared for, always with fresh flowers, always with lit candles. Many people still visit seeking comfort, advice, prayer. But something remained unexplained. On the wall behind the altar, in a part that was never touched, a mark began to appear about a year after the events. A mark in the shape of a rose, as if the plaster itself had been molded from the inside out. Father Michael examined it. Experts were called, but no one could explain how it appeared. Some say it's just humidity, others claim it's a permanent sign of Our Lady's presence. Miss Dorothy, who is now 73 years old and enjoys perfect health despite her age, just smiles when asked about the mark. Some things we don't need to explain, just be grateful for. And one Friday each month, Marcus, his wife, his children, his mother, and Ashley, who is now Helena's godmother, gather in that living room to pray the rosary together. And always the scent of roses fills the environment, soft but unmistakable, reminding everyone that the Virgin Mary not only intercedes for her children but sometimes, when necessary, intervenes directly and powerfully to bring back those who have lost their way. The image of Our Lady of Guadalupe continues in the same place, watching over that family that was broken and restored by divine grace. And on quiet nights when Miss Dorothy prays alone before the altar, she swears she can see the Virgin's eyes move slightly, as if watching over her, as if saying, I'm here, daughter. I never left. Marcus carries in his wallet a small photo of the day he knelt before his mother asking for forgiveness. Father Michael took the photo without him knowing. In it, you can see the tear-stained face, the mother's hands on the son's head, and if you look closely, very closely, there's a golden glow around them both, an unexplained light that appears in no other photo taken that day. That photo is Marcus's reminder that redemption is always possible, that a mother's love never ends, and that the Virgin Mary is always watching, always ready to intervene when one of her children cries out. Have you ever lived a forgotten promise or a sign on the path? Share in the comments. I want to pray for you. And if this story touched your heart, write Our Lady Never Abandons, and leave your prayer request here. Share with someone who needs peace today, because sometimes all we need is to remember that there's a mother in heaven who never gives up on her children, even when they've already given up on themselves. If stories of faith, miracles, and divine interventions move your soul, subscribe to Negroes de Faith, and activate the bell so you don't miss any testimony. Tomorrow we have another incredible story that will strengthen your faith. God bless you, and may Our Lady of Guadalupe intercede for all of us. Amen.